Joined by a special guest today, Amarjit Singh. Amarjit is a partner at EY, leading their assurance services in DLT and crypto, and recently had quite a lot of focus on Brexit and its ongoing impact upon financial services. Amarjit has also worked with a range of global clients, including asset managers, hedge funds, investment trusts, as well as private equity houses. And he also spent 4 years at JP Morgan Asset Management. Currently, Amarjit is responsible for the regulatory and audit relationships with a number of the clients at Ernst& Young EY, and significantly for us here at Sikh Channel, Amarjit also heads up the EY Sikh network and is an active sponsor of EY's diversity and inclusiveness agenda. So I'm very pleased to welcome Amarjit to Community Talks. Amarjit, I'm sure there's a few more accolades we can add to that long list.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Pleasure to be here today and to be speaking with you, sir.
Thank you very much. Perhaps we can start with your childhood. Can you take us back to where you were born and where you grew up and what sort of childhood you had?
So I'm actually Malaysian. So I was born in Malaysia, grew up in Malaysia until doing my secondary school, and I came over to the UK for A levels and then university. So my childhood is actually from Southeast Asia. I was very, very fortunate, I would say, that at school I had a really good bunch of friends from many, many different religions and races, and that was actually it made a very important impact, I guess, on me in terms of being very used to working within multicultural settings and with groups of friends that have very, very different backgrounds.
And do you keep a connection to Malaysia? And if so, what do you miss about your childhood where you grew up?
I definitely still keep in connection there. My brother, my sister, my parents are all still in Malaysia. I'm over here, so we do go back to make sure that the kids know their dadis and their family as well, and that to me is really important. I would say though probably the biggest thing I miss is the food and the weather. It's nice weather over there, and the food now you can sort of get in London, but the weather you can't beat in terms, especially with the rain and the hail and the snow we've had just here today on the day that we are having this conversation.
Absolutely. And you've done extremely well. You've become partner in EY, which is a huge global consultancy. I mean, I might be showing my age a little bit, but I remember Ernst& Young when they used to be purely accountants and they were known as chartered accountants, but they're no longer accountants and they are business consultants. And what does that mean? Is it difficult? I mean, how would you describe the business? How would you describe EY? What is it?
Very good question. I've been very, very lucky with Guruji's Mayor to have an opportunity to work at EY. And to me, EY, I think that the best way of describing it as a firm is to use the phrase professional services. So I think we still have, and I'm still an audit partner. So chartered accountants and auditing is still very much core part of the business. So is tax, but as well as consulting and as well as corporate finance in terms of either helping companies with their tax affairs or helping them as they face some regulatory challenges, for example, on consulting or bringing in new systems, or last but not least, they might be looking to buy companies, sell companies, etc. And then you've got the corporate finance arm as well at EY. I think the very fortunate thing for me, and I think the thing I really enjoy, which is why I've been at EY for such a long time, is the variety of the job. So I've got firms that I'm their audit partner on, but at the same time, I've also got other firms that I help from more of a non-audit perspective. I help them maybe to address new regulations or new challenges. as well as getting involved with some of the firms as they buy and sell, competitors or peers in their market. So it keeps you on your toes, shall we say.
Variety is the spice of life, and it seems you've got lots of variety in your work, which is great. And of course, you've seen a lot of changes in your career, the way people work. Recently, we've seen the switch to hybrid home working and so on. There's been a lot of changes. And those changes, do you think it's now easier for people to progress in companies like EY because perhaps you had a different type of struggle, and now do you think it's become easier or more accessible for people to progress at EY, or are the challenges the same?
I would say that the changes in working come with some positives and some challenges. What I mean by that, is that in terms of challenges, when I was coming through the ranks, because you were much more in the office, it was easier to just listen to what was going on around you. It was easier to pick up things that were happening around you, and also just, overhear conversations and learn and maybe go, oh, that was interesting. Can you, tell me a little bit more about that? Obviously, in the hybrid world that we are now in, that becomes a, a challenge. How do you create those situations to allow people to come together to learn that way, as opposed to feeling quite isolated at home. But on the flip side, there are some people in my team who, for various family reasons, find it difficult to come to the office, maybe have a challenge with regards to childcare on certain days, etc. And the good thing for me is I still get their input, I still get their brain power, I still get their effort, but in a way which works for them, right?
That's tremendous. Thank you. It has changed, and as you say, there's advantages and disadvantages. But I think on the whole, it's for the better. And technology is a very big part of our lives, and so it is easier to connect. We're connecting from Birmingham and London, and it's easier without having to travel. I remember at Sikh Channel, it's very difficult to interview people physically because there's a lot of arrangements and travel involved. And now, with the Jose technology, the quality is reasonably good, and the BBC use the same technology as we do. We can interview you in the comfort of your home, working from home today.
And I remember many years ago, you used to come and film our events in EY as well, with all the big cameras and everything else. And I think we still do some of those big events, because I think sometimes it's good to get people together in the room, and other times we make it hybrid or online to actually reach a wider audience, right?
The EY Sikh network's been very successful, and I know some of the events have been very well attended, and they've been a pleasure to watch on Sikh Channel. What's next for the network? Is it still growing, or has it reached a bit of a plateau? And because you were instrumental in that network, in the Sikh network, where is it going next?
Very good question, and I have to say, I'm only the person who brings together the brilliant energy that is within the group. We've had some absolutely brilliant people be part of the network over the years. All of them who have gone on to be really, really successful in lots of different places as well. And without them, none of this could have happened. My job was just to give them the space to do it. All of the great stuff that the network has done is very much on all of them. I think also the point you raise is interesting, because you sort of ask yourself, what's next, as you say, and what do we need to do, and what can we continue to do. I think personally, we've always focused on sort of education in the wider sense. So how do we not only help the Sikh community, but also the non-Sikh community learn about a variety of different topics, be they Sikh history, Sikh culture, etc. But also some of the more challenging topics potentially in our community, like mental health and things like that, and try to help the community also grow. So I think that job sadly will never be done. I think that there's always new things to learn. So, I think we are now looking to see how we refresh that and what might be some of the new areas that, we think would be helpful to work with the community and to work also with the other brilliant Sikh networks around the city as well, right? To work together with them to see what we can do.
Yes, I was just going to mention there's a number of Sikh networks. There's a NatWest Sikh network, which we're closely involved with, which is very active. There's one at HSBC and other organizations. And I think it might be useful. And from a professional services point of view, because it's always good for the companies involved, EY will be happy to promote the Sikh network if it's helping them to connect to other organizations and banks and so on, because it also helps the business. And whilst that's not the motive, there needs to be some benefit, if you like, to the wider organization to help keep supporting these initiatives. So that's perhaps something we could assist with a Sikh channel, because we have a sort of an umbrella coverage of all the various networks, small and large.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point, right? To me, that's the power. And in the past, we have come together, all of us, the PwC network as well has, and and the different networks in Barclays as well, I think has joined us, and things like that. And it's been brilliant because sometimes as well, when you want to have a series of events, it's nice to share them around, everybody gets involved, and it actually creates a really good community feeling and gives a far, far wider outreach, right, to people. But the other thing as well, which I think has been interesting, which we've tried to do a bit more at EY now, is cross faith events. So how do we also work with the Muslim network, the Hindu network, the Christian network, the Buddhist network, the Jewish network, etc. And actually, how do we actually do some cross faith events, which every time we do them, they're really, again, well attended, and for me personally, always opens my eyes to something new. I always walk away from them learning something new, which I think also, with us as Sikhs, and Sarbat da Pala, and the way that we are so open as a religion. I think that's also really, we've got a role to play there.
Thank you. And are you able to share some elements of your work with us? Any current interesting projects you're working on? I know that EY has been in the news a lot in the financial press with talks of a possible split in the company, forming into two different groups, two different organizations to separate audit from professional services because of conflicts. Are there any insights or any insider news that you can offer us today?
I'm afraid I can't because I wouldn't be allowed to. But I think you can get a pretty good idea reading from the financial press, as you say, sir, what's on there, and and what's happening. I think what is interesting, though, to your question, which is that I think, like any industry, it has to evolve, right? And I think, to me, for us, this is us looking at what is a potential to do there, and how we maybe go about addressing some of the conflicts that can arise within different parts of our business, and what we might do to make that better. So, I think, to me, it's a very interesting and an exciting time. And I think, to your point, about what I get involved in, I guess variety, as you say, is quite key. And at the moment, I now head up blockchain and crypto for EY across EMEIA, and that also comes with its own bunch of challenges. Uh, so things are never quiet.
That's great. And in terms of your Sikh identity, your Sikh principles, how has that helped shape your career? Has it played a part not only in your success, but in the way you conduct yourself and the way you do your business within your unit or department?
I think I believe so, and I think for me, two strong pieces of my identity are very much humility. It's quite easy to get arrogant in this world, and how do we remain with humility in our hearts, and how we interact with people, no matter how senior or junior they might be. I think, to me, is really, really important. And the other thing, which to me is absolutely key, is integrity. We as Sikhs, people look at us, in terms of standing up for injustice, for inequalities. And to me, that integrity is absolutely key. It's very, very easy to lose. It's very, very hard to earn. But for me, integrity is the non-negotiable. And if you act with integrity and fairness with the firms and the people and the companies that you work with, to me, that's the only answer long term.
Would you, I mean, often children do follow in the footsteps of their parents and they get influenced by their parents' work or business. Would you encourage your children to become chartered accountants or similar?
Similar, I think, is a key word. I think to me, I would encourage people to seek what their passion is, what their soul says that they want to do that will keep them happy. Because, then they will always be happy in their work and they'll always be interested in their work and it will always be a joyful place for them to be. Yeah, so to me, I think I would always say find your path. We do a lot of outreach to some of the schools, for example, in London, in the East End, etc., where we go out and we help Sikh students either at sixth form or at university, help them fill up application forms, help them, coach them in interviews, etc. And it's interesting when we do all of that, the line they always say to us is, "Oh, we never thought that we would see, Sikhs in organizations such as EY," and that is not good. We need to show people that we are open and everybody is welcome. So to me, I would always suggest find your passion, and that will always drive you. Me personally, I've always been driven by helping investors. I've always wanted to make sure firms and companies were doing the right thing for investors that gave them money, that give them their money to manage, be it pensions, be it savings, be it anything, right? I've always been driven in terms of making sure and helping those firms do the right thing. Sometimes I've been on the side of working with those firms to help them set up what they do to comply. And other times, sadly, where the firms have also gone wrong, I've then been called in by the regulator to actually investigate the firm and help them put things right again. But to me, I like the fact that to me, what's important is I want to make sure that people who give their money to organizations can trust the organizations, and the organizations that deserve the trust get the trust, and the organizations that don't, people then stay away from.
Thank you very much. And in terms of yourself personally, away from EY, your outside interests, any other activities and pastimes you have away from EY, and do you have a secondary passion or secondary job or role which you'd like to pursue, perhaps full time? If tomorrow you decided to leave EY, for example, the partnership split happened and you didn't like it and you had enough of consultancy, what would your new life look like?
Well, I'm hoping for a long time I'll continue to work there, but of course one day I will retire. And what I would hope to do. I was lucky with Guruji's Mehr. We had a daughter who was born very early. She was born 3 months premature, so she was born at 26 weeks, which was a very, very scary time. We saw the great work that the doctors at St. Mary's in hospital in Paddington did, and today she's fine and she's all okay, and it's brilliant that way. But what that made me realize and made me want to do is to give back, right? To try to do something for the medical side and for the NHS. So initially, I was a trustee of a little premature baby charity down in the west of London. And more recently, I've been asked to join NHS Charities Together, and I'm now their sort of independent trustee. And this is the charity that sits above it's the membership organization of all 240 NHS charities. So it's the organization that helps all 240 charities in the NHS, helps them it might get money from donors, etc., externally as well. We were very lucky to get, for example, the money from Sir Tom Captain Sir Tom Moore when he did his fundraising. And in fact, today is the 3-year anniversary, sadly, of WHO announcing COVID. So there was a remembrance which we did as well. But this charity, for example, now is helping all the other charities in the NHS, in terms of either grants or content or know-how, etc. And to me, that's really important. We know, for example, that there are challenges with the healthcare system in the UK. I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here. It's all in the news as well. But how do we start to fix that? And how can we be clever about it? What innovation can we bring? What different thinking can we bring? That is what I would like to maybe do more of in the future when I get the time, sir.
Tremendous. Thank you very much. And Amarjit Singh, partner at Ernst & Young, EY, and also the lead Sevadar at the EY Sikh network. Thank you very much for joining Sikh Channel and sharing your views. We hope you continuing success. You've been very successful with Waheguru's Mayor, and we hope that you continue also to join other people to the Sikh network, help other Sikh young professionals coming through in their career, and all communities really to join them together. Diversity, inclusivity is so important. It's a founding principle of the Sikh faith, and you're an embodiment of that. And doing Girt Kamai, Van Shakana, Naam Japana is so important, just the basics. Thank you very much for joining us, Amarjit. And we look forward to hearing from you again in the future with any further updates with your career, EY, and also the Sikh network.
Thank you very much for the time, and thank you, and lovely to speak to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.